Hello everyone, this is Sinan Ertemel, impresario of Balletistan. Welcome to our 7th episode of Balletistan Wednesday Talk. Today we are with the principal dancer of National Opera of Ukraine, Mrs. Ana Sophia Scheller. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So today we will follow your artistic journey starting from Buenos Aires, Argentina to Kiev, Ukraine. You have quite illustrious career, and we are very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me in this live interview.
So let's go to the very beginnings, to like baby Ana. Can you tell us when and how you started dancing?
Yes, actually, I started at 6 years old when I was in first grade. I started ballet because my mother put me in ballet. My brother was doing soccer after school, so they had ballet in my academic school too for girls, and so my mom put me into ballet classes. At that time, actually, I was very young, but I started, really liking it. Around the age of 9, my I actually every year at the end of the year I had was very lucky. I had Julio Boca's mother who came to do an exam. Yes, that's me, the in blue on the right side, the first one. So yeah, so I had every year at the end of the year this very famous ballet dancer's mom, Julio Boca's mom, Nancy Boca. She always came every year to do an exam, and she always gave me like the highest note. And when I was in 4th grade, she told my mother, she has very good conditions for doing this as a profession, no? So my mother actually asked me if I wanted to dance, and I said yes. I think one of the reasons I said yes is because yes, when you feel like you have talent for something, you enjoy it more, right? And so I really liked it, and that's how I really started ballet. So then at 9, when I said yes, I want to do this as my profession, my mother looked for some teachers to prepare me to get into the main ballet school in Argentina, which is the Instituto Superior de Arte de Teatro Colón. And I was very lucky. I lived actually very near this teacher's school, Katy Gallo and Raúl Candal, and they prepared me for the Teatro Colón, and well, I got in, and that's how I started. And from there, it all goes to more.
Right. Can you tell us about your first teachers in Instituto Superior del Teatro Colón?
Yeah, so when I was going to the Instituto del Teatro Colón, that I will go every day at 8:30. I had ballet class in the morning, and one of my first ballet teachers was Rina Valverde in the Instituto, and then after in the afternoon I will still go to my first teachers, Katy Gallo, which is this photo. This is Katy Gallo, and then will be Raúl Candal, my other teacher. They were both my main ballet teachers. This is Raúl Candal in this picture. And I really, the combination of going to the Teatro Colón and having these amazing teachers, I think made me who I am today. I really think the beginning of your studies of ballet are the most important part of your studies and to grow up. If you are a smart, very smart person, and you really absorb these corrections and really remember all these things that they told you from young age, I think is the most important part of your career.
Your training, like, was it influenced from Russian teaching?
My ballet teachers
Uh-huh.
in New York, actually, and his name is Willy Burman, and he passed away this year. Yeah.
God bless his soul.
Yes. He was also Julio Boca's teacher for many years. Most of his career, he had Willy Burman traveled with him around the world. And in New York, he was very famous teacher at Steps on Broadway, these very famous studios in New York. And many ballet stars you would see in his class: Alexandra Ferri, Jose Manuel Carreño, Angel Corella, many dancers. And they knew him. So for me, he is always like something I always remember.
In Argentina, do you have like other like classmates who studied with you, like becoming international stars? Like, who were your classmates?
Of my classmates, no.
Or like a couple of years junior or
maybe,
senior?
maybe of other years ahead of me or a bit after, you know.
Right.
Of my classmates, no. Yes.
Right. And your like training, like, was it like Russian Vagonova method or like European French method?
I would say it was a mix. It was a mix of maybe Russian style and French. I never had only just one school in Argentina, so it was a little mix, you know. That's all I can say about that.
Right. So, and at very young age, you danced in a major production at the most like famous venue of Argentina, Teatro Colón. Can you tell us about your experience? Like, how nervous or excited you were at that time?
Well, my memory about this time, I was, I think, 11 years old, and I think my first production with the company, if I'm not mistaken, it was Don Quixote, and then the next production was Corsair. In Don Quixote, I was one of the little cupids, and then in the Corsair, I was one of in the Dryads part. With this is Sakharova. So when they came to do this production of Corsair, Sakharova came as a guest artist, and Rusimatov came as a guest artist.
Incredible.
I think Sakharova at that time, she was 19 years old. She was already a principal dancer with yes, and yes, and in Kirov, I couldn't remember, in Kirov Ballet, and I couldn't believe, she was 19 years old and she was already such a big star, because at that time you couldn't see YouTube and all these videos. In Argentina, all I saw was what you can see at that moment, or maybe if somebody gave you a VHS tape and someone is like, oh, look, watch this dancer and all these things, no? But now I think students and kids and professionals are so lucky to be able to see all of this on YouTube, and It's incredible. And this is Lucy Matov.
Mhm.
Yes, and also I remember the first time on the big stage of the Teatro Colón. Here, if you can zoom in, I am right behind Saharova, right side. I'm the second girl on the right side, and and yes, and what I remember is because in Argentina, they have a rake stage, right, like
Mhm.
this. And I was so little, and I wasn't used to it because in the studios we have flat.
Right.
And I remember, like, I would just go around once, just like a soutenue or something, and I would be like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be out of control." And I was actually very scared, but I never had this experience before, and but everybody gets used to. But I remember I had to be very, very focused, because if not, I felt like I was going to lose my balance.
Right. So a National Opera of Ukraine is like similar, a raked
Of
stage,
course.
right?
And not only that, because in the Teatro Colón is maybe even bigger, the wide is wider, and here in Ukraine is not as wide. So I believe when the bigger the stage is, the less you feel this rake, the less you feel. The smaller it is, the more you feel.
Right.
I think it's also a visual kind of thing, you know. So yes.
And Teatro Cologne also has one of the best acoustic stage in the world, right?
Yes, I mean it's really a beautiful theater, and it's really a dream theater for me, because also is where I grew up. So I think many dancers, wherever they grow up, and they keep this feeling of love towards this home theater, no?
Mhm.
Beautiful or not, you keep it in your heart and you make it beautiful, because for you it's like the top.
Of course. Uh,
Yeah.
when was the last time that you went to Buenos Aires and danced in Teatro Colón?
Okay, so actually I had a wonderful, and it was a little sad but an amazing moment for me. It was my first time dancing there in the Teatro Colón as a professional dancer. I was invited by the director at that time of the Teatro Colón for this gala, and the director was Lidia Segni, and she invited me to this international ballet gala, and I had to dance with my partner was David Karapetian. He was principal with San Francisco Ballet at that time, and we did Ruby and Don Quixote, Pas de Deux. And for me, it was very special because before that, I never actually performed in the Teatro Colón as a professional dancer. And not only that, I had this amazing opportunity to dance in front of my mother at that time. She was very sick with cancer, and for me to have this opportunity to dance in my country in this dream theater for me and for my family was one of the biggest gifts I could give her, right? So for me, I was very emotional inside me, and for me, it was a very special day for many reasons. Because of my family, and because this was such a big thing for me and special.
Right. May God bless their souls, your parents. My
Thank you.
condolences.
Thank you.
So Can we go to the next step from Argentina? How
Yeah.
did you know about the School of American Ballet?
Okay, so my teachers, Katy Gallo and Raúl Candal, they knew about the school because they took his before ballet students. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was Herman Cornejo. I think even Marianela Núñez. They took their students to this summer course of SAB, School of American Ballet. And so my teacher, Katy Gallo and Raúl Candal, they told me, it would be a great opportunity for you to go there, after going to school there, you have more opportunities of jobs, there's so many theaters around USA that, you have a bigger opportunity to join another company. And also the level at that time, it's very high, so they told me this, and my mother said, okay, let's try, and I said, of course. And I was very lucky. My sister already lived in New York because she was married to an American man, and so she already lived in New York. So we arrived to New York, and we arrived to her house first. So I went to audition. I got in, and I started right away. This was around the time of January, and at that time in Argentina, in November you finish school, it's summer time, So I go to New York, and all of a sudden I start right away with School of American Ballet. So I didn't have vacation. And so it was maybe a hard mental moment, but at the same time, I think it was very exciting, because I was starting something new. Nowadays, I always say that I love change, I love new, and I think I love traveling and everything. So I love all this feeling of everything new. So I was pretty happy anyways, even though I had to start right away.
Right. I mean, as your sister was already in New York City, I think
Yeah.
Adapting to new country at the young age was not too challenging. What about the training? So as far as I know, it is a Balanchine style, right?
Yes.
So can you
So
tell us about your training in the School of
really,
American Ballet?
when I just started the School of American Ballet, the first day I arrived to the studio, I remember I had a girl from my level taking me to the studio, and when I arrived to the studio, I was like, wow. Those were like my words, because I never had these studios so big, and everything was brand new and all this thing. I felt very, very little in this big studio. But I really looked around. I was the youngest in my level. My colleagues there were either 2 or 1 year older than me. I was the only youngest in that level. So that's when I realized that how what a good training I had in Argentina. Not just talent, but also I had very good teachers, right? Um, and this is when I was like, I had very good training at home, and I was very happy I did. Um, so adapting to the new style. It was probably a big challenge at the beginning. I think one of the hardest things for me definitely was, for example, turning because they spot front, right? And to change that was definitely a very big challenge because it completely changed my balance. But everything with practice, you can always reach. I say. This is Tchaikovsky Pas the first time I danced it with Tyler Engel. And we did it actually. This is inside the theater of New York City Ballet, but we didn't do it on the stage, but they put on they made a stage for us, but we didn't have wings, right? And so every time, let's say we finished the pas de deux, and then he had to do the variation, I had to stand on the side like ballerina, like beautiful ballerina, like you're not tired or anything, because everybody can see you. So I remember I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I want to, maybe sit or just like, be like this or whatever. But I had to be like beautiful, like ballerina standing. And but I had a very good experience about this. Pas de deux is one of my favorite ballets, pas de deux to dance. For sure. I love it.
Right. And after finishing your studies, you joined to a BT studio company.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell us about the transition?
Yes. So when I really, this is what happened. So my last year in the School of American Ballet, I needed to have a job after the school, right? And in the school, you do some the last year performance. At the end of the year, you do some performance, and that's called the workshop. And they don't tell you if you join New York City Ballet, the company, until the end. And they actually, when this happened, they offered me a contract for New York City Ballet, but I already accepted before to go to AVT Studio Company because I needed a job before I finished the year, and I didn't know if I was gonna be selected to join New York City Ballet. So I took this contract, and I went to AVT Studio Company when I finished my year with the school. My transition to AVT, I don't know. We did many different choreographies. Is it different than being in the big company? Because I was in AVT Studio Company. It's only 12 dancers in the company, and they're very young, like from 16 to 19. And so what we do is like tour around USA, and sometimes they do outside of USA, but I just went around USA, and we did little ballets like like Pas de deux. This is Vertiginous Spirit of Exactitude, actually, from William Forsythe. This is, I think, one of the highlights of things that I did in the company. Because it was very hard ballet, but again, also one of the most amazing ballets of William Forsythe. And I don't know if it was a challenge. When you're that young, I was 16. I didn't see it as a challenge. You just do. Whatever they tell you to do, you just do it. So I never saw a big challenge. Maybe when you're older, you start thinking of the details, because that's really what makes you, I think, an amazing dancer, is the little details, right? And for that, it's time, little by little, and having a good teacher, and being very smart here. because sometimes maybe you don't have a good teacher, but you have to see how you want to look. How, like, let's say I videotape myself and I'm like, no, I don't like this because I would like this arm to be softer or something. For me, it was more like this. A lot of times I videotape myself um, to really feel like, to really see how I really want it to look. Because if not, sometimes I will watch a video and I will be like, oh, I don't want to watch this because I don't like myself, you know, because I want to look
I know.
different. So for me, it wasn't a challenge at that time. I was very young, very young to say for me that it was a big challenge.
So
Yeah.
so you have like experience in two major companies of New York City. Can you do some comparison, like repertoire, culture, technique between ABT and New York City Ballet?
Well, at that time, especially, ABT mostly did the classical ballets, which are all the full-length ballets. Corsair, Bayadere, Don Q, Giselle, all these ballets. And New York City Ballet has some of those ballets, like Swan Lake and Sleeping Beauty. But the main thing is Balanchine. So, I mean, the biggest difference is that the company is based on Balanchine and Robbins ballets. Now they have many other choreographers also coming to the company and make new choreographies. But it's not based on the classics, the full-length ballets. Is not the main thing for the company. That's the biggest difference.
What are the highlights of your initial years in the New York City Ballet? Like, what was your repertoire?
So really, I think my first year, I joined in 2004, April. And in December of that year, I already did my first principal role in Nutcracker, which it was it's called Dewdrop, which is the flowers. It's the main principal role in flowers. And I would say right now, like, it's one of my favorites, and many dancers feel this way. It's one of my favorites roles to dance. This is Dewdrop, doing with the music of the Waltz of the Flowers. And definitely one of my favorite ballets to do. And I did it in my first year in the company. I remember the first day I had rehearsal. I didn't know, they just put it in the schedule, my name, but I didn't know what, right? And it was, for me to be the first year in the company, I already got this like a principal role, was like a huge highlight for me. And then when I was in the studio and then they tell me, oh, I'm gonna teach you Dewdrop, I was like, oh my God. I was very nervous. From that moment they told me, I was like, oh my God, I was very nervous. And then my second year, this is Sugar Plum. My second year in the company, I did the principal, which is the lead role in the Sugar Plum Fairy with Tyler Engel, my colleagues in school, ballet school. And we danced this parade together, which is beautiful also, as of a Balanchine, of the Balanchine Nutcracker. Yes, and this is what I'm going to tell. This is one of the biggest highlights for me. In 2005, I was in the studio of Steps on Broadway in New York, And I was just leaning like this on the bar, and Julio Boca, one of the most famous dancers, the most famous dancer in Argentina and around the world. He was a principal dancer with American Ballet Theater, and he was right next to me at that time. And he's from Argentina, so he was talking to me in Spanish, and he's like, "What are you doing this summer?" I think I was at that time 18. Yes, I think I was 18 or 7, no, 18 already. And I said, "Oh, nothing, I'm just going home, And he's like, "Okay, give me your number. Maybe I need a partner for this time, and I want to call you." So I gave him my number. And when I'm in Argentina, there they call, and I answer, and they're like, "Oh yeah, so tomorrow or this day, you will start rehearsal with Julio Boca." I was like, "Oh my God, this is happening for real." So I started rehearsing with him and everything, and then we did a tour around Venezuela, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Spain in Madrid. And we did 12 performances total, and I danced with him Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux, which is this picture, and then Don Q, which is the picture I have with him. It's the only picture I have of Don Q with him. And yes, it was very special time when I actually danced in Uruguay, which is very near Argentina. I had many of my family coming to see me perform there. My whole family was like telling everyone, "Oh, like it was my father and my mother. Oh, my daughter, she's dancing with Julio Boca," because in Argentina it's huge. So yeah, it was a very special time for me. So then after doing this tour, I go back to New York City Ballet, and one of my teachers in New York City Ballet asked me, "Oh, how was your summer?" And I said, "Oh, very, very good." And he's like, "Oh, what did you do?" And I said, "Well, I danced with Julio Boca." And he said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "What did you dance?" And I said, "Tchaikovsky, Pas de Deux, and Don Q." Let me tell you, maybe 3 weeks later or something, I see my name for rehearsing this ballet for the company.
Wow.
And yes, and I was at that time just turning 19 years old. And I remember for this special performance, because I was still in the Coro Ballet, I bought the flight ticket for my mother to come see me perform just this ballet, right? Because for me it was huge. And so I danced it in that season 4 times. I had 4 performances of Tchaikovsky. And so that was very special because that was my second lead role for me as a coro ballet dancer. After that, the next year I was promoted to soloist. So, but yeah, so I keep Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux in my heart because it definitely was a very big highlight for me, and a very special and happy time for myself and for my family as well.
So, like among all the roles that you danced in New York City Ballet, which one was your favorite?
I had many. I can't say one. Like I said before, one of my favorite ballets was Dewdrop in the Nutcracker. Then Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux. Then there was this ballet. This is Tchaikovsky Pas de Deux with the New York City Ballet. And That's Dewdrop. Yeah, that's a picture. That picture was actually from my first performance, and this is this is from my first performance with the company. And then this is called Cortège en Groix, which is the music of Raimonda. So the girl does this variation, boom, ba-da-dum, it's amazing ballet. Very many things are. It's only one act. It's not the same as the full length of Raimonda, but it's the Balanchine version of what Raimonda is. And this ballet I really liked. And then I liked also very much the Nutcracker Sugar Plum Fairy. Also, it was like Sleeping Beauty. It was Peter Martin's version, the director of New York City Ballet at that time, which he really has. And I would say one of the most beautiful productions, like sets, costumes, just beautiful things. I had many, and then I also like jewels. I did emeralds in jewels. There's many ballets I really enjoyed. I like Who Cares. I don't have a favorite.
Right, like we have like a couple of like videos from your like
Yes.
rehearsals and like performances.
Yes. Yes, so this is Cortège en Groix, which is the Raimonda I said. This is a rehearsal video I have. I was lucky that a friend was able to videotape it. And as you can see, many times in New York City Ballet, even though if you're doing it for the first time, you get to rehearse on stage, of course, but not always with lights. So you do it on stage with costume and everything, and the corps of ballet and everything, but no lights. Not always, but most of the time. But I like this feeling. Sometimes I feel, I don't know, comfortable for trying like this also.
And
Yes.
I
think you have a video also of Sleeping Beauty.
exactly.
Of my first performance of Sleeping Beauty. No, this is Nutcracker. This is Nutcracker with my amazing friend Gonzalo Garcia. I danced a lot with him in the company, actually. He's from Spain. He was in San Francisco Ballet as principal dancer before joining New York City Ballet. And he was a beautiful dancer and person.
So like the next video is from like Sleeping Beauty. But I mean, let's watch this beautiful Nutcracker.
Yes. It is beautiful Nutcracker. I think one of my favorites Nutcrackers there.
So what year was that?
This video, I think, is from 2016. So I've already at that time danced this role maybe 10 years. For sure.
Right.
It's
so
crazy
maybe...
how time flies and how many years you're like, oh my God, 10 years.
Right. And the like background is like simpler than maybe Russian productions, right? Like for like Nutcracker, it seems like very, I mean, nice, but like simpler background, a decor.
Yes, and as you can see, there's kids behind, right in the center, and we're basically dancing for them.
Right. So maybe like I can like switch to one of your like favorites Aurora and Sleeping Beauty.
Ah, yes. Yeah, so this is actually my debut of the Aurora. And as you can see, the steps are very fast.
Right.
That's the biggest challenge of New York City Ballet. This is what I'm going to tell you right now are words from the director at that time, Peter Martins, which I'm sure Balanchine said the same thing. Always would tell the conductor, just play. Don't look, just play. Don't look at the dancer, just play. You know,
A dancer
so
will adapt somehow. I can see
yeah.
that.
So that definitely it's a challenge, you know. But you can learn from everything, even from something like that. You can learn of. I learned from big mistakes I've done. You know, like if you tell too much to the conductor, it's sometimes it's even worse. You know, so it's better
Mhm.
sometimes. Maybe yes, look at me to finish, but that's it. If you say too many things, it's gonna be even worse. I learned this from experience.
Right.
Yes, because they become nervous, and when someone is nervous, they make mistakes. And this
Mhm.
happens also even with your ballet partners. So I learned how to, you know, first when I rehearse, I don't say much, you know, I don't say much, maybe little by little every day, maybe a little something, a little this. But if you say blah, 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 too much, first time, they how you, in English, you would say they shut down.
Mhm.
You are not open because it's too much, you know, it's too many things. So I
They
learned
cannot
this.
process
You have
information.
patience.
Right.
Yes.
Uh, okay, so that was a Rose Adagio, one of the most
Yes.
difficult classic pieces.
Yes.
Uh, what was your most like natural ballet step?
My most
Like
natural
yes, like which one was the easiest, the most comfortable?
in a certain ballet, or just what's my favorite step to dance to do?
Your favorite step to dance in
I
general?
always say I like to do manège. Manège is this jump of coupe
Hmm.
jeté
Right.
that usually men do, right?
Hmm.
But I like to do it. I love it. It's one of my favorite steps to do in class or even performance. In Aurora, you actually have to do one manège of coupe jeté, depending on the what version you're doing.
Uh,
In New York Ballet, I actually had to do it. And it's definitely my favorite step, and it's a jump.
I think like I have seen you doing that a couple of days ago in National Opera of Ukraine.
Yes,
Yeah, in a
I was
video.
in Red Leo on this video.
So
Yes, definitely my
that
favorite
was like
step.
a like happy moment, and like in any like career, ballet, it can be ups and downs. I mean, in terms of health and other things. So in like New York City Ballet, you had a very unfortunate injury that took a long
Yes.
time to heal. Like, how did you do that? I mean, you must have a very strong will and like determination. Can you tell us about your recovery process?
Yes. So this injury was it took me out from dancing for 1 year and 3 months until I was back to the stage. You know, at the beginning, I tried many different types of injections. One was called PRP. They mix it with your own blood and inject it to the injury. And what this is tries to do is create inflammation, but at the same time, with the inflammation, usually, it starts to cure whatever you have, if you had a tear or something. But for me, this injection didn't work. I did then after that a cortisone injection, and it didn't work. And after every of these injections, I would try to do rehabilitation. So it was very long period. And then I did another PRP injection. It was forever. And after 6 months, I go to this New York City Ballet Gala, and everyone in the company started asking me, "Oh, I haven't seen you for so long. How are you?" And like, when so many people were asking me this, I arrived home. I fell down on the floor, I remember, in the kitchen, and I just started crying. This was already 6 months of injury. And then the next day, or I don't know, maybe that next week or something, I went to the doctor. I actually went to see another doctor just to have a second opinion and everything. I was already getting in touch with other doctors as well to see if people have more opinions, no? And so I went to this doctor, and he said, "Oh, maybe you should do some other injection." I was like, I don't want to do any more injections, because this was, I didn't feel it did anything to me. I was still hurting. And so I said to myself, I'm going to go home to Argentina. I went to visit my father. I was there. I was going to go there 2 weeks, and I stayed 2 months. My doctor in New York was calling me or sending me messages just to see how I was doing. But I stayed 2 months. For me, it was very good to sometimes in this situation, you need to recharge your batteries. Because if you keep going, and you're not going anywhere, this is a lot of frustration. So changing another scene for me was a great thing. Also being with my family and everything, I think that's a huge support. So when I came back after 2 months, I was still in pain. But little by little, I started doing, a little of this part, but just little by little, like, oh yes, it still hurts, but little by little, like that, until like 4 months went by, and then I was back on stage. But I remember maybe 2 days before going to the stage again, this injury was hurting me, like very bad, hurting me very bad. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Should I dance or not? Like, I was thinking in my head, I don't know if I should dance. And then I was like, you know what? If it's my last performance, let it be. Because after already 1 year and 3 months, I'm not going to wait anymore. Because it's very frustrating. Also, like, it's not like I was like, oh, I'm not dancing, so I'm going to be teaching. No, I had my focus in coming back, just coming back. Because if I had my mind in another thing, I think I would stop completely. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to perform. Pain or no pain, I perform. So I performed, and from there, it just started getting better. Like, I think it was getting strong. And after 6 months, I really felt the best, really, after 6 months of coming back. And really, I would say it was a huge, hard moment for me, because actually when this injury happened, also 2 months before that, my mother passed away. So I don't know if I got this injury from being sad from this thing that happened to me. But if things have to happen to you, it will happen. I think. Before that, I was in New York City Ballet for 10 years and I never had any injury. The most injury maybe I had took me out from the stage 1 week and then I was back, but never had any major injury. This was my major injury in my career, and definitely was a very hard moment for me, especially not having any experience in having any injuries. That's also very hard, you know.
And
And but
after
I came back.
uh, we are so glad that like you are back and back better than ever. You are like getting better
Thank
every
you.
day. So
Thank you.
like about the injury, I
You know
mean,
what?
do you?
From having injuries like that, um, it's not like you come back and that injury never hurts again. No, you have it. It's still sometimes you have pain, but maybe not that major pain, but very little. So as a dancer, what's hard sometimes I say this. When you go every day to class, it's not just training the body, you have to train your mind, your head, because you have to start changing sometimes the way you used to dance, because if you dance this way maybe it hurts. So little things like that, it's a lot of concentration in your head. um, so you're not just like dancing, you have to be concentrated in these little things so you can improve but not get hurt.
Mhm.
So I mean, but it's part of our career as a dancer. And I'm sure every dancer, especially when they get older, they would say the same thing. A dancer is never pain free. You just learn to dance with it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And when I heard like some personal stories about the injuries, I think sometimes dancers are pushing too much because of the competitive nature of the industry. They are not listening to their bodies. Like, can you say that after the injury, maybe you understand your body better and like know your limits?
Yes, like depending, because depending sometimes where you are, no, because in New York City Ballet, they were extremely nice to me, because I was able to communicate with them. And like one time, I had this meeting with my director, Peter Martins, and he actually asked me, is there anything we can do for you? And this was already like, I don't know, whew, 7 months, 8 months after my injury. And he was like, is there anything we can do for you? you know and many times in many companies, the director will not even ask you this question. That's the truth. I was very lucky, that actually the director would ask me this. um, I think it's very special, and also at that moment you need this because it's a support, you know. Um, but I was gonna say another thing. Also, when I came back, it's not like, oh, I come back and I do all my repertoire. Uh, yes, I did come back with not very easy ballets, because Balanchine ballets are actually all of them hard. There's nothing really, really, really easy. But I came back, I think, with 4 temperaments. But I told my director, I can dance this and this and this ballet. I cannot do this one because I have to jump and I'm not ready to do big jumps like this yet. So, I had this communication with my director, and it really helped me to come back and stay healthy. Sometimes in companies, if you have a director that is like pushing you to come back and fast and too fast, and then they're like, or we need you to do this rehearsal if you're gonna perform, is they're not thinking about you. They're just thinking about the performance and their job. You know, they're not thinking about you. And in these moments of injuries and coming back from injuries, I think really a director, to keep their dancers as healthy as they can be, is actually thinking about them. And that's something hard to find, really. That's really something hard to find in this career. And that's why sometimes many dancers have had many injuries, and maybe it was small and it became so big because it was too much pressure, you know. That's the biggest thing. And the problem for me in this case is because also I me personally, I'm not saying every dancer, but me personally, I am a huge one of the biggest hard workers for myself. Like, I work so hard for everything. If this didn't work, I wanted to make it work. So if somebody actually also even pushes me in this moment, I don't need this, because I need someone to let me do it my way, because I'm already pushing at my hardest. So if somebody is going like this to me, I fall.
Right.
And break, you know, because I'm already going forward. But if the other one just goes like this, I fall. You know, it's
Right.
the
I
biggest
understand.
example.
So let's talk about more like fun stuff after the injury. Like, you lived in
Yes.
New York City. Like, what was the best part of the city for you?
Well, New York, definitely a huge memory always, because I I started being in this city since I was 13 years old. Uh, so I know it from Queens, Astoria, where I used to live, to Manhattan. I knew all this part of the city. And actually, I would say, like what everyone says, you know, it's a city that never sleeps. But you know, everything is there. If you want to, whatever, especially I would say one of the biggest things, like restaurants. You know, if whatever you want is there, Chinese food or you know, Argentinian food or anything, everything is there. It's also the public transportation is one of the best public transportation of anywhere in the world. um, I would say it's one of those cities that gives you everything in your hands, you know. If you want to eat at 1 in the morning, you're gonna find places open. So I always have this memory, and also I still have some friends there, um, living in New York, and that if I ever go and visit, I really want to see them, especially my friend Gonzalo Garcia, who you showed a video of me and dancing with him at Nutcracker Parade. He's a very good friend of mine, and I always keep him in my heart.
So you loved New York City so much, but you went to San Francisco. Like, how did it happen?
Yes. Well, this already, before it happened, was already processing, since I was since they promoted me to principal dancer in New York City Ballet. I was like, okay, now I reached to principal dancer. I would like to now do something different. I want to do more classical ballet, more full length ballets. When I was young, I grew up watching this in the Teatro Colón, and was definitely one of those things, that one of those dreams that was with me always, and was something I really wanted to do. And let me tell you, this is how it happened. I did this surgery on my foot. I had to do this one surgery to file one of my bones. It wasn't, I don't call this an injury. This is something I had to do to my foot because it was hurting already for 5 years. And I was like, I'm just going to do it now and fix it. So I did this surgery. And what I did this surgery in January. And I don't know, in February, I had a friend of mine who was doing a lot of managing. And she's like, you know, in San Francisco, they're looking for a principal dancer. She's like, you know, they're interested in you. Would you want to audition? And I said to her, let me tell you in a few days. I thought about it at that time, at that moment, and I actually was like, no, few days. I'm gonna say yes. I was like, it's now or never. If I want to change and start something new, it's now or never. So instead of waiting 2 days or something, I responded right away, and I called her and I said, yes, let's do it. And then she's like, oh, so when can you go to audition? And I said to her, you know, I just did a surgery on my foot. There is no way I can go now, right? So let's tell them that I will go to audition the last day of their season. That's in May. So I have some motivation to come back. No, big motivation, but also I was nervous because I don't know if I could be ready for this audition. So definitely was a big challenge. But, you know, like little by little, I have physical therapy, very good doctors and everything. I start taking class little by little. You know, sometimes my physical therapy would tell me, oh, I think you're doing too much because this is getting tight and this and this. But they didn't know I was going to go to audition to San Francisco. So I had to push myself more. And but I didn't tell anyone I was going to San Francisco Ballet, because when you have to go audition somewhere, it's better nobody knows, because you don't want to lose your job where you're at until you don't have another one. No? So I don't tell anyone, and I keep pushing, and really I was able to finish class, like full class, only 1 week before auditioning to San Francisco Ballet. I think this was a miracle because before that I couldn't finish class, you know. And so I went audition. I got this contract as a principal dancer with San Francisco Ballet, and I started a few months after that with the company. And that's how I started my season with San Francisco.
Can we talk about the repertoire in San Francisco?
Yeah, so my first year in San Francisco, I think one of my favorite things I would talk about was doing Sleeping Beauty. It was a different production. It was Helgi Thomasson's production of San Francisco. And I had the opportunity to work with one ballet teacher that for me was very, very good for me, myself. You know, some people didn't like, I loved. Her name is Lola de Avila. And she worked with me sometimes just arms, you know, because Sleeping Beauty is so important, the style of your arms. And for me, it was working in these little details was it's like feeding myself, you know, with like if you're eating, you know, like really making yourself healthy. But for dancing was giving me something special, right? Yes, this is with Angelo Greco, Italian dancer with San Francisco Ballet, principal dancer. And so this was one of the most amazing things I did in San Francisco for me. It was working with Lola. And then also, I also really, this is Ruby's pas de deux. It's a Balanchine ballet. And this is with Vitor Luis, Brazilian dancer.
Rubies, right? This is Rubies.
Rubies. Yeah, this is a Balanchine ballet from Jules. And this is Sleeping Beauty. That's Sleeping Beauty in the dream scene, in the vision scene. Sorry. And actually, this is Divertimento number 15. This is when we went with San Francisco Ballet on tour to New York. And this is also a Balanchine ballet. And actually, I had a very nice review from this performance. They really liked my dancing and energy. They really highlight my name into this review. And it was very special. I saw my friend Gonzalo came to see the performance, and other very amazing people I saw. Yes, this is the review I had. It was very nice review. And what was the picture before that you sent? This is Stars and Stripes. And I danced this in my first gala with San Francisco Ballet. It's a Balanchine ballet. So I was in San Francisco doing also Balanchine. They do a lot of Balanchine because Helgi Thomasson, the director, he used to be a principal dancer with New York City Ballet, and they have many sometimes some performances of Balanchine. So since I was coming, yes, so this was also a big highlight for me of working with Johnny Eliassen. He staged Etudes ballet. This ballet for me was a bomb. For me, it was one of those things that you watch and you're like, oh, I want to dance this so much. And I had the opportunity to work with him. He's a very special person. And really, I had a good time working with him.
Right. So now, let's move to the final stop for now. I mean,
yeah.
It looks like you keep moving all the time. So this is the place that I saw you on the stage, National Opera of Ukraine, from United States to Ukraine. I mean, that's a big move. I mean, can you explain how you made that decision?
Yes. So actually, I came to Ukraine, to Kiev, as a guest artist. Alexander Stoyanov made this invitation to me to come dance with him at Swan Lake in 2018. And I came, and I remember I had a friend that sent me a message saying, oh, how is Ukraine? And I said to him, actually, Kiev, I love. I love the theater. I love the city. When you're in somewhere in some cities that you have this sensation of you feel good, you feel comfortable, and I had this feeling here. And my second year in the San Francisco Ballet, I actually before the season started, I got injured, so I missed performing. And during this time of injury, I was thinking if I really wanted to stay or not. There were many reasons why I really actually wanted to leave, because of repertoire, because of how I worked, because the company actually doesn't perform from July till December, unless they do some little tour, maybe 1 week or maybe another week somewhere. But really, from July to December, you don't perform. It's all rehearsals. I was rehearsing really sometimes with no break, 7 hours every day. And from being in New York City Ballet before and performing every day, all year, Um, for me, this sensation of being on stage, I had to have it. I cannot be 6 months or 5 months rehearsing and not performing. And also, I didn't have the opportunity to really go and accept my invitations outside, really. And so, I put many why I should leave. I put many reasons, and I said, you know what? I don't want to sign my contract for next year. I really want to leave because I'm not happy. I got injured because it was too much work for me. It was too much. I was doing too much, and depends, because sometimes you're doing a lot, but depends how you're working. I wasn't working well, and it was too much for my body. And I decided that I didn't want to sign my contract, and then I was looking at my options of things, and I had this opportunity. Alex Stoyanov, who is my manager here, he said, come here. So I was like, you know what, I'm going. I don't know if it will work, but I know for sure I don't want to stay here, and I have nothing to lose. Why not? Many people would probably think, why is she leaving San Francisco Ballet, one of the most important companies in the world? It has a huge name. Many people from Dallas, they invite you because you're in San Francisco Ballet, or because you're in New York City Ballet. But you know what? I was like, I cannot deal with this way of working for myself. It doesn't work for me. And also, I wanted to do more classical ballets. Also, I wanted to be working on that. And coming here, I just noticed that I'm actually very happy. I have this freedom of always saying yes to the invitations outside. Then really, I have time to work on details of things in ballets. I really don't think I made a bad decision. Also, it's a city that is very near all Europe, so for invitations to dance in Europe is amazing. You fly 3 hours, 4 hours somewhere, and you're there, and this is really amazing. And I just started doing more galas and everything, and I started noticing, you know what, I don't need to be in San Francisco Ballet or New York City Ballet to be invited to these things. Of course, it gives you a big name and everything, but if I hurt myself or they don't let me go to do these galas, I'm still losing. So, I put the things in the balance, and I actually think I did the right decision.
Right. How do you like Kiev? Like, what's your favorite spot in Kiev?
Here in Kiev, I actually haven't gone seen many things, and especially now. I mean, because now maybe I would have time to go and see more things. The weather is nicer and everything, but with this quarantine and the situation, I don't try to be very exposed to everything. In fact, now the theater also closed for 1 week. I don't know if it will open. I've been going to the theater now for 4 weeks, and now it closed again. I'm hoping they open next week. I hope, because
so.
it's a big motivation for myself to keep, going. Having this rhythm of waking up in the morning and going somewhere and this and that, it just keeps you motivated. It keeps you happy. And but I actually want to see more of the city. I was looking online some things, and I really want to go see, but I haven't been able to.
Let's come back to the theater.
Yes.
Who is your teacher now? Can you tell us about the routine in the theater?
I had a few teachers. Mostly is Victor Yaremenko, but also for Swan Lake also I had the help of Tatiana Veletskaya, which is the wife of Victor Yaremenko. And also, I actually worked for Silfid. This is Victor Yeremenko and Tatiana Veletskaya. And this is after Silfid. She was my teacher, Gana Kushneva. I really enjoyed working with her, with all these little details and how I move and everything, especially when the self is dying. And she cannot see, and she would tell me, go to this side now, open this arm, like, you know, like little details, which this is what makes the ballet so great, because in this ballet you have to have very beautiful and soft arms, you know, and it's very important. And so I work with her for CFP.
Right. And currently, like I see your videos with Nikolai in the theater, right?
Yes,
Current.
yeah. Yes, he's been teaching class. I think he has a very fun spirit. Even though I don't understand everything that he's saying, but sometimes I have my colleagues who are translating me, and I start laughing at everything he's saying, because he's funny, because he says things like very serious, but he's not serious. Everybody's laughing. So, you know, yeah. But you know, at this time of quarantine and everything, I think it's important to work hard and everything, but it also is important to have fun and as much as you can with the things, and maybe some things don't take it so serious, and at the same time working hard. So I think he's a great person to keep your spirits up, really positive. Also, even after class, he's always, oh, let's try some pirouettes, and we tried. I posted some video with him doing some pirouettes and everything. Yes.
Right. And having danced in like 3 like major companies, like you must have danced like classical repertoire from multiple choreographers. So for you, how difficult was like switching from one choreography to another? And my second question is, which choreography fits to your style the best?
I mean, I don't know. That's actually. I think it has to be another person telling me this. What I feel comfortable doing. I don't know if it looks good. It's just my opinion of how I feel. Um, I really enjoy dancing the classics, really, a lot. I always also still love many Balanchine ballets, and but um, changing ballet to different ballets. I already had this experience in San Francisco Ballet or New York City Ballet. You have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 different ballets the same day rehearsing, and I mean, it's part of your career. You get adapted to this. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not. Sometimes you go from a neoclassical ballet into doing a classical ballet. But right now, it's something a dancer needs to be adapted to, because it's happening in every company. Um, so you have to be open to this type of way of working, of having a variety of choreographers and everything. Um, Definitely, like if I go to a gala, if I get to choose what I want to dance first, I always say, oh, I prefer to do the classical ballet, and then they do the new classical or modern, so I can relax, you know, instead of being relaxed and then having to be like informed. But it's not always in this way. Sometimes you have to do it the way around, and you get used to it. Um, for sure, here in Ukraine, I had the opportunity also to work with Ricardo Amarante, who came here to put his ballet A Touch of Illusion. Um, definitely was a beautiful ballet. The audience really liked it. The What was amazing is because actually we were performing in the because the stage is very large, right? But in the back was the orchestra, so they were on stage instead of being in the orchestra area. They were on stage, and we were in the bottom part, in the front. So it was beautiful because you would have the music behind you, and you were dancing there, and it was definitely it had a beautiful music, and beautiful choreography, and I really enjoyed dancing this. And again, also was doing something different, because here I was doing Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty, Giselle, Sylphide, and then I had this, neoclassical ballet, and it was a good thing to have this way of changing your dancing. No, you have to be, as a dancer, I think always have to be growing and very open to new things. And so yeah, it's I had the opportunity here as well.
Indeed, like that was my next question. Like, you are being invited to many international galas and festivals. So among the countries that you visited, like, what's your favorite venue? And like, which one was your favorite performance?
Italy. Italy, and my favorite venue, of course, is Argentina and the Teatro Colón, and here, but definitely Italy. I have many special moments. I think I sent you some pictures of. Also, this is the Teatro Colón. This is Argentina. As you can see, it's beautiful from the outside, but also beautiful in the inside. So in the next picture, probably you will see more in the inside. This is at night. So this is actually when I came to Buenos Aires, to Argentina, to perform in this gala that I told you I performed in Don Q and Ruby's Pas de Deux. And this is in the stage. So as you can see, it's beautiful, it's huge, and just a dream theater to dance in.
It was renovated recently, right? It was a big project.
That performance?
Teatro Colón renovation.
Yes, they had a renovation. Yes, for 7 years, I think. Yeah, they did. They did a beautiful renovation, but it took the dancers that were working at that time was a really hard time for everyone, because it's 7 years without a theater, and that's very hard. This is the Don Q from the gala.
Which country was that?
Huh?
Is it Teatro Colón?
Yes, this is at the Teatro Colón. Yeah. This is in this gala that I told you. And this is in Ruby's with my partner, David Carapetian. And yeah. Okay, so now we're here in this stage, which is Festival Puccini. And it fits, I think, about 3,000 people or more. I don't remember really. And so this theater, this stage, is huge, so big that it's kind of like if you had 2 stages at the same time in one. Two stages, okay? So this performance, I always remember, because like I was dancing with Gonzalo Garcia, my partner, for this, and when the music starts of Don Q, Pas de Deux, the music starts. Tararam, pam, 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 pam. Okay, so in the tararam, pam, 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 we were already coming out, because it would take us so long to get to the center. And the stage, as you can see, it's actually, that didn't have linoleum. So in the next picture you just showed, Um, it I have my point shoes destroyed right after don't cue. They were like this,
It
so I
must be
couldn't
like
wear them
dangerous,
anymore.
right?
Yeah, because
With
the
like
stage
pirouette.
was wood, but the wood wasn't just straight. No, it was like a mess.
Mm.
So my point shoes were like this in after the performance. Um, but I have such. Oh my God, this is my friend Gonzalo Garcia, my partner, and I remember like it was really fun. It was really fun, a really fun experience because when you have all these conditions that are not very good, and you're just trying your best, and you're just enjoying. You really have to enjoy what you do, and I always say like, why be nervous? Let's enjoy it, um, and I always been this way, and I remember also in the pas de deux when the guy does this one lift, dun
Mhm.
dun dun, and my partner, instead of putting me down, he stays there the whole time, dun dun dun, and we sing the two melodies, and when he puts me down, I start laughing like crazy. I'm like,
Seriously? Wow.
and he says, you know, it's more difficult to put you down and then up again. He's like, oh, I felt like you were in balance, so I stayed. It was fun. It was really fun. And then here is in Kiev, after
Mhm.
Sophie, in this beautiful theater of Ukraine in Kiev. And every time I finish a full-length ballet, I'm waiting for them to open the curtains and take a photo with my debuts, because most of the things I'm dancing here are my debuts. You know,
Mhm.
I never danced Sophie before, and actually, when I was rehearsing Sophie, I was I don't know, like it's very hard because you have to jump a lot, and for a girl to jump a lot is very hard. But performing it was it's so nice, so nice. I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful ballet.
It must be a special moment because you decided to move to Ukraine after this, I
I
suppose.
decided what
To move to Ukraine.
with because of Sylphide. No, because my first ballet here was Swan Lake.
Oh, like I mixed it up. Oh, that's after
Yeah,
you
my first
you came back to
position for
Kiev.
Alex Stoyanov,
Oh,
I did
okay.
Swan Lake, and
Right.
and then when I joined the company here, my first ballet was Swan Lake.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you like traveled a lot, and we talk about the venues. Like, what about like
Yes.
touristic destination? Which one is your favorite touristic destination?
Um, well, I really love Italy. Because there's so many beautiful places to go in Italy. I still want to go some other places around. But also, I really liked Greece as a tourist, not to live as a tourist. But I think one of my favorite places is Italy. After dancing Sylphide, I also went for a few days to Firenze in Florence. Um, it just was there 3 days, and I just every time I go there, I love it. I don't know why, but also because I can understand a bit of the language, and just the way they are, I feel like a little bit like at home.
Right. Like about the performances, right before you go on the stage, do you have any rituals that you do in the
Well,
wings?
yes, I have a very few things. So before a performance, I like to be in the theater at least 2 hours before the performance. It takes me around 45 minutes or 1 hour to get ready, hair, makeup. Um, so so I have 1 hour before the performance. I'm already ready 1 hour before to warm up. And not only that, here in Ukraine, because the stage is so raped a lot more than the studios, and I don't really get rehearsals on stage. I like to try every step I'm dancing of the ballets. So I try it on the stage 1 hour before. No one is on stage. It's just me, maybe one other dancer is trying other things. So I like to be ready 1 hour to do this. If I'm not ready, I start feeling like nervous. And then another thing, another maybe a little cuckoo thing I do is every time I'm putting my point shoes, I always have to put my left one before my right one. If I, by mistake, I started putting my right shoe, I'm like, oh no, take it off and put my left one first. And you can call this crazy, because I think it's crazy. Crazy and stupid.
Little crazy. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those
as
are
I
the things that I do, nothing else.
as I stood like in the wings, like with the artists as an impresario, like I've seen like some crazy things that artists do like before the
Yeah.
performance. So I can
And then
understand
also
that.
another thing, I'm one person that maybe other dancers don't do this. I don't like to put my point shoes so early before I dance. Maybe I like to practice something and then I take them off and then that's it. But if I have to dance, I put them 10 minutes before, because if I put them too early, I had experiences that then my shoes started dying too much, because your foot starts sweating, and when you have sweat in your shoe, they start breaking more. So I have this thing. I'm always like, how long we have? And they tell me 15. Okay, I don't put them yet. But if I have 10, I put them on.
Right.
That's another maybe crazy thing, but it's for me it's very important actually.
Yeah. You work a lot. I mean, you have like quite busy schedule. Even like during the quarantine, you are always active, either taking classes or teaching classes. So like, I wonder what you are doing when you are not dancing. What are your hobbies?
What are my hobbies? Well, I mean, part of my hobbies is I love working out. Not certainly like doing ballet class. I'm talking about working out is like if you go to the gym kind of thing. This is something I really actually enjoy the moment I do that. When I go on vacation, I always do some workout of something because it makes me feel good. That's one of my, I would say, hobbies. It's one thing I really like doing. Then another thing, if I'm not doing anything, dancing or anything, I really like traveling. I like going to new places. That's why one of the reasons I like about ballet is because ballet takes you sometimes many tours, invitations to galas, to different places. You see different cultures, and all of these different cultures and everything. It's always fun, you always find very fun moments, and you start laughing about something. I don't know, it's very for me it's very fun to travel around the world because of this.
Have you been to Turkey before?
No, I have never been to Turkey. Of course, by stopping by, Istanbul, but never actually went around the city. It's one place actually I really want to go to, Turkey, because I saw many beautiful places to go. So it's definitely in my list of places I want to go to.
I mean, like thanks to the
Now that I
quarantine
know
and
you, probably can give me some good tips of places where it
of
would be a great
course,
place to go, the
like
tourist.
you are like more than welcome. But like you
Yes.
should be ready to eat good food and lots of them.
Oh, I love this. I love this.
About Turkey, it looks like you have now some fans and even some students. Like I see that you are having class with some young
Yes,
Turkish
I
like ballet
had two
students.
girls from Turkey. Yeah, yes. Yeah, yesterday I actually taught a class to Alaya. I think her name is like that, and she is in
Alia.
Royal Ballet School. And
Mhm.
she is from Istanbul, from Turkey, and so she's home right now in quarantine. So she's beautiful. She has beautiful conditions, beautiful, really. Like I told her just a few corrections, but she's beautiful. She has amazing conditions, really.
She needs to have everything by the nose, right? That was the correction.
Yes,
I
I
couldn't help
actually
like,
told her,
but
you really like center and you need to be on your leg. Because she has beautiful feet and everything, but if you don't close fifth because you're not on your leg,
Mhm.
you're not making a beautiful line of your legs and
Exactly.
feet. And actually, you can move faster if you're on your leg, always.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to like see you teaching. I think you have amazing teaching abilities as well. Like very good eyes, like very good eyes.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually, I started little by little teaching. I think my first time really going to a place to teach before was, I think, in 2017. I had a friend telling me to go to Peru, and that was the first time I taught class was in Peru. I taught in 1 week 15 classes.
Wow.
From really never teaching to 15 classes. And then I did 2 years some summer course one in Mexico, and then I went the next year to do the summer course. So I started having some experience, and I think the more comfortable you start feeling, the more you like it, because maybe at the beginning you don't feel so comfortable teaching, because you also have to choreograph steps. It's not just teaching; you really have to know what kind of steps you're going to teach. So it's not easy to be a teacher either, because every dancer is different. Maybe
Mhm.
what works for you doesn't work for the other person, and that's one thing you have to be very smart of thinking. Okay, so this dancer is like this is going to look better for this person, and that, I think, that's when you see a very good teacher, this is what's happening. That teacher is going to tell you, oh, don't worry about this dancer, what they are doing. You do this because this looks better on you, and this is the truth. You have to do your own thing sometimes, because it's just better for you. So yeah, I think it's a lot of experience, and to be a teacher also, I think it's hard, because you have to be like almost like a psychologist, to teach.
Right.
Not everyone is the same way. Maybe if you tell this one person and you scream to them this way and this way, maybe they cry and they don't learn. And but maybe if you're in a different way, they do open their head. But depends. So as a teacher, you have to be strong, because it's a hard career. um,
Mhm.
it's a very hard career. You have to speak your truth, obviously with respect, but you have to speak your truth, because it's a hard career. I mean, as a dancer, if not everybody would stop dancing if they didn't train you to be a strong person. I mean, people are always criticizing you, and some people really love you. So uh, you have to be a strong person, and for that you have to already from the beginning start learning that you have to be a strong person. And because in this career is like, I'm sure even actors happens a lot too. There's a lot of rejection um, when and then you see sometimes when people are different, um, some people like them and some people don't. And who cares? It's about being you. So you're not gonna be exactly like the other person because you have to be you. That's what's gonna make you different from anyone. You know, I'm not saying don't point your foot so you just be you. No, I'm not saying that. You have to have the technique, but
Can
it's
I
not just technique.
can I
Sorry?
like give you a teaching challenge? I mean,
Huh?
I can be your like adult beginner student if you teach me some. If you teach me, you can teach like anybody. So. No, I would have some like hard time to start
No, I mean
the ballet.
to be a teacher is also hard because, like I said, you have to look at some
Mm,
students. Some students really progress really fast. Other students don't progress as fast, but maybe have better conditions. So it's definitely a challenge to be a teacher. It's not easy, and
mm,
you have a big responsibility as if you're a teacher.
right.
I don't consider myself a teacher, but I'm starting to do that. But it's a big responsibility because it all depends. Not depends all, but it's a lot about how you teach to the student of how they're gonna grow up. You know.
Right. So another question about like personal a question. Are you a cat person or a dog person?
I'm a dog person. Definitely a dog person. Since I was little, we always had a dog at home. And one time we had a cat at home, but I didn't like this cat. This cat broke my. I was young. I was 4 or 5, and broke my high chair I had, very high
Mm-hmm.
chair for kids, and broke it. And since then, I didn't like cats. This is actually in Napa, in California, with my dog. It's
Kitri.
a very beautiful place in California. Napa is where all the wineries are, and it's
Mhm.
very beautiful. And
Can you
I actually
tell us like,
I
about your
travel
dog?
to I travel with my dog everywhere. So the first time I got my dog, I got her in Argentina, and so her first trip was to New York, and then I've been traveling a lot of places. This past summer, I went to Italy with her, to Mexico, to Cuba. She's also gone with me before to Aruba, and then to here, to Ukraine. So she travels a lot, and she also has an Instagram account. And the
Kitri.
name of the account is called Kitri, la perrita viajera, which is in Spanish, the dog, the travel dog. So like the dog that travels, you know. This is what my teacher Vlasil feed after the performance. She comes always to the theater when I perform. I bring her all the time. I say she's my support. So when I arrive to the dress room, when I have to change to a different costume and everything, she's waiting there with love and everything, and I love this feeling.
She's not barking during the performance, I
No,
hope.
no, she's very good. She's actually
Good
very
girl.
good dog. Yes, very good girl.
So she's here now.
I'm
Maybe
calling her. I don't know if she'll come.
maybe
Wait
she
one
can say
second.
hi to us.
I'm gonna bring her. Vamos a decir hola. This is her.
Hola, Kitri. Super
Aww.
cute.
And she's 7 years old.
So, I mean, you have like amazing company. Like, can you tell us about your time, like during the quarantine? In the last 4 weeks, like you were going to theater. what else like are you doing? Like, what is your like daily routine? Do you follow any like online class? You are teaching online. Do you follow like any classes as well?
We basically, I mean, for 4 weeks, I was able to go to the theater every morning and take class, and I practiced some um, positive things, and so I spent some time in the theater. By the time I was here, it was 2:30 or something like that, and then I will come here. Sometimes I will still do my workout class that I do my own, and then sometimes I had some privates that I was teaching. Um, so that was kind of most of my day. I also started cooking some things. I even make my own bread now. Because I think also as a dancer we never have time to really cook something. We're always arrive, we're so tired, and the last thing you want to do is stand and be cooking, no? But I'm actually enjoying to make my own things, and I will have more projects of cooking more things and learning. Yeah.
Right. And Netflix. Like, are you like watching any like Netflix?
Yes. Well, I can say that when the quarantine started, um, definitely was hard for 2 weeks. I didn't really do anything except watch Netflix and eat and sleep. And during these 2 weeks, I really finished one of my TV series I was watching. It's a Spanish soap opera from with Colombian actors, and I love it. And I finished it in 2 weeks or something, which was like 90 episodes. No, it was like also many. I was probably watching 6 7 hours or 8 hours every day. And then after these 2 weeks, I was like, oh my God, I have to stop. I have to start dancing. I have to do something because I will see my muscles of my legs all like just like,
Mm,
because you lose muscle like this so fast. Like, boom. In
I
one
know.
week, you can have no muscles. And I was like, I have to start. And I started, and that's where I started going. And no more Netflix. Maybe sometimes.
Uh, and when I follow your like social media, you have like very strong like presence. Other than like online classes, you're also being brand ambassador of Grishko. Like, can you tell us
Yes.
like about your activities online?
Yes. Well, I became a brand ambassador with Grishko as soon as I arrived to Ukraine. I was brave enough to write to them. Like I told them, actually I started wearing Grishko. Now it's almost 6 years. So at that time I said 5 years. Um, Probably now when I move to Ukraine, I'm not gonna have enough shoes that the theater will give me, because in the USA they gave me so many pairs, and point shoes are very expensive. And so I was brave enough to write to them, and I tell them, I would love to become a brand ambassador of Grishko and everything. And since then we started working together. I'm a brand ambassador with them, and they always send me their point shoes, which I love. The reason I started wearing Grishko 6 years ago is when I had my injury, and that year and 3 months injury, and I couldn't wear anymore the point shoes I used to wear because they were really uncomfortable. And so I started wearing Grishko because of this reason, and I was able to work to make them specific to my needs, no? And I think actually I love them. They look much better than the shoes I used to wear before, and they're super comfortable, and I wouldn't change them for anything. And I actually really like also their products and everything that they send me, everything. So now in the quarantine time, I've been working with them with some live Instagrams, teaching classes, question and answer things that we've been doing online. And yeah, so that's my thing with Grishko is I'm a brand ambassador of them with them.
Right. Like it looks like we have some good news and sometimes bad news like about the quarantine, but eventually it will end. Hopefully
Yes,
it will end.
hopefully.
So
Yes.
what's your plan right after like we have free travels, international travel? Like do you want to go to any specific place?
Yes. Well, I think the first thing I really want to do once I can fly and go to places and really is actually visiting my sister. She lives in Chicago, and unluckily she has a terminal brain cancer. Now it's like 2 years with it, and over 2 years now. And yeah, it's every time I can fly, I always try to go to visit her. This is the last time I saw her in December. I went there for Christmas time and New Year's to visit her. My brother from Argentina also came. My brother from LA also came. We're a family of 6 kids, so we're three boys, 3 girls, big family. And,
Me too, like 6 kids as well.
yeah,
Four
wow.
sisters.
It's crazy, but it's fun.
It is. I am the youngest.
Yeah,
What about you?
you're the youngest. I'm number 5, so I'm one of the youngest, but I'm not the youngest. I have a younger brother. And yeah, so that's one of the things I would like to do is go visit my sister. And I don't know what else. And now, like with so much free time, and I don't know, maybe also with my personal life, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, you are still like, you have so much youth and energy. You will see you in the stages, I think, for a long time. We talk about your teaching activities. I think you could be
Knock on
like a
wood.
fantastic teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. So, do you have any specific plan after life at this stage is over?
Um, no, I don't have something specific, but I think I'm gonna still be involved with anything with ballet. I don't have something really specific. I'm sure I think I will be teaching maybe, uh, but I don't know yet what exactly. But um, I'm sure I'm gonna stay around anything that is ballet involved for now, but this is my thought right now. Things can change, who knows.
Yeah. The ballet world like needs you.
The
Your
ballet world
talent,
needs. Yeah, I mean,
energy.
it's nice to be to teach sometimes, because when you see the student that you see that they improve something because you taught them something, it's like very fulfilling. It's a very fulfilling feeling, and so I consider it a very nice thing to do. And also, me as a dancer right now, I still dance many times from just teaching. You learn, because you sometimes you need to watch to learn,
Yeah.
not always just do. You need sometimes to watch, and it's very important. So I think it's also it helps a professional dancer as well to teach.
Right. As you know, I am teaching economics, and I have the same feeling about the spark in the eyes. Like when you do like your job well, and if the student understands, right, you see that, you see that in the eyes, and it makes you happy as a teacher. And I think
Yeah.
that
No,
applies to
it's
like all.
really not easy. For example, I consider myself a turner, because turns are for me easy. No, I'm not saying they're great, but they're easy for me. Um, so let's say you're teaching someone, but for me, this is something easy for me. Maybe I don't think about it so much. It's something natural, and to teach this sometimes it's not easy because it's natural for me but not natural for the other person. So you need to start learning exactly what things you need to say by watching and maybe even making your own mistakes by saying something because maybe it made it worse. So really teaching is not easy. It's really hard. Yeah.
So hopefully the theater will open. Like I
I
think last time they said July. Let's see if it's going to be July or later. I already saw you in Swan Lake, and you were amazing in Sulfid as well. Like, do you have any other recommendation? Which performance should be watching National Opera of
well,
Ukraine?
actually, I watched the full length of La Bayadere, and here in Ukraine, they have a beautiful set for the shades. When the shades come in, they're crossing with the steps. The set is beautiful. I never seen this kind of set. I don't know. It's like a cave mountain. It's like, wow, it's beautiful. This set. I never seen any other production with this kind of set. This was dragged my eyes attention. I watch sometimes ballets here in Ukraine because for me a lot of things are debuts, so I like watching to have a different. I'm not saying I'm watching to be like this. It's just sometimes even watching to not be like this. There's a different things actually, and to watch the production because I haven't seen all the productions here in Ukraine. So it's very interesting to watch for me.
So as we are approaching like towards the end of our like program, can we end with some positive notes, like some advice to the younger dancers, especially like
Yes.
during this strange times?
Yes. Well, in this quarantine time, it's important that maybe you keep doing things. You keep doing some bar, a little bit of center. But also it's important you stay healthy, because we cannot be jumping on these floors and they're cement. So, we want to work hard, but at the same time take care of our bodies. But in general, not in quarantine time, I would say if you want to become a dancer, then do it 100% or more. Because if you do 75%, it's not enough. If you want to be a dancer and be the best that you can be, you have to be 100% or more. And not only that, sometimes maybe someone maybe is 100% or more working as hard as they can, but that doesn't make them the best dancers. But I think everything works, everything can help, and maybe also opens a new road. Maybe you in this road you're like, oh, you know what, I like taking photographs of dancing, and you have a better timing to take photos of ballet. Or maybe because you know so much about ballet because you work so hard and everything, maybe you're an amazing teacher, because not always the best dancers are the best teachers. So I think everything that you learn and all your efforts, I don't think they're in vain. Like you're not like, oh, why did I study this, now I'm not good or something. I think everything works, from everything we learn, from mistakes. We sometimes we cannot get better if we didn't make a mistake. So that's why for me, as a dancer, it's also important to rehearse, and maybe rehearse a lot, because in those rehearsals you make lots of mistakes. So really, you as a dancer, you have to work 100%, or it's a very hard career. If you're gonna be a student from now as a dancer, you give it all. Like everything is gonna be for good. And like I said, in quarantine time, it's a very hard thing right now because we don't have the same elements, the same situation in your home. We don't have the space, and we don't have the floor. But we can always try to do the best we can do. That's what's important right now, to do the best we can do in this situation. And also by doing, you keep your brain active, and your dreams still active, because if not, everything shuts down, and the world is over, and it's not. So I just whoever asked me these questions, just, if you're gonna do it, do it.
A wonderful, inspiring advice, and we learned like so much from you about your career.
Thank you.
It was like very inspiring. Thank you so much for like being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. And from interviews like this, like, it's nice. It's very nice because I learned from myself many things, that maybe I've never thought about them. And I think it's great to have these memories and thoughts, and be more grateful.
And I'm sure that we will meet again in Ukraine or
Yeah.
Turkey or like somewhere else.
Yes.
Take
Yeah.
care.
Take care.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.